Yeah, hey, hard pill to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow. Yo, hey, yeah, you feel the pressure no matter how much you make an effort. It got you questioning, is it worth it? Let's check the surface. Of course, it hurt on some earth shit. We murked it. Comes in threes, but don't second guess on your first shit. Cause one false move, but had your spirit in rooms with the doors locked. Esoterically livestock, gang stalking your darkest thoughts. Natural on your head top, that shit'll get your wish chopped. I ain't read the book of Enoch cause I lived it. Ballin' when it empty dinner place. Shifting my perspective like I'm switching lanes. Hopping on the newer trains of thought with this new brain. They mind frame is limited. I do not know what limit is. Melodies and bullets from my enemies. My spirit in the space of abundance. I got amenities. They give out the trinity. They ain't balanced the energy. Stuck inside the body. They soul became liability. Shit be killing me how this world work. Couldn't get any worse unless you lost and forgot to be honest. I've been keeping it honest. The universe work behind us. A miracle, man. I'm honored. Your vessel for greatness. Flowing like a weightless. Head above the currents, feeling spacious. Anxious for tomorrow, cause a nigga lack patience. Surveillance. I see the demons like shit. My spirit working mysterious ways. Gracious. A whole new vibration. The revelation that helped me fight the temptation of falling. Life was never about a dollar or trying to be scholar. They took me by the collar and beat me until I hollered. The city getting got time for nada. Unless it got to do with the babies calling me dada. It's that
What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Dave B. You watching Dave on TV, where we go beyond the everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day-to-day basis. You know what I'm saying? That track, Birth of a New Mind, that's where we at right now. We got to birth whole new mind. And now we're going through Scorpio season, the death, transformation of things, and going with the, not even going with the flow, for real. It's water, but it's fixated water. So it's kind of the own flow. And with the moon and Aries currently, that's actually sizing the whole idea behind you got to find your own flow. You got to manufacture, create a whole new warrior type spirit to go to war with certain things that's just holding you back for the most part. You know what I'm saying? The old things, outdated things that still been affecting you, get energy levels low and stuff like that. You cannot blame those things on you can't blame anything outside of yourself basically at this point, even if it looks like everything externally you back, or it looks like circumstances you in seem insurmountable. See, you know, it's like, damn, I can't see what angle to penetrate to get to my goals and things like that. You got to understand that it is really all on you. You know what I'm saying? That everybody has an individual has to step up to that plate and make it a thing, make that next step. You know what I'm saying? It's like nobody gonna be there to kind of give you the thumbs up and say, hey, that's the way to go. You got to go that way, and as you go that way, you have to define your light. Now, in Aries sliding through Chiron, of course, is bringing up that feeling of past mistakes and things like that, giving you a certain emotional awareness of where you kind of might have went wrong on certain things. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, it's all about mistakes that actually matters. It's not about the fact that you make mistakes, because the truth of the matter, in any circumstance, anything you choose to do, it's just that. It's the spur of the moment. The whole important part is that you make a decision and you stand in it, right? And whatever decision you're making, you stand in, you have to face the repercussions of that. A lot of times people get caught up in loops and cycles because once they make a decision, they backtrack on it. And then they get into a situation where it's like, hey, you have to now face the consequences of what you started and what you initiated, but people don't want to follow up with that. It's not, that's the hard part that people face, is that when you do something, you make an action, you put energy out, you're going to have to receive that back and deal with the consequences of that. So you can't throw in and hide your hand, because if you do that, that's where you kind of get the least amount of because see, when you go through experiences, you're going through the experience, gain more information on how to move better. That information is converted into wisdom based upon how you transmute it. So whether it's a bad experience or a good experience, it really doesn't matter what's bad or good. All things need to be used and create and basically transmuted into information that could be received as wisdom, right? So now that you know better, you can do better. A lot of times when you throw a rock and hide your hand, you hide away from the most important part of that experience because you assume that the experience is going to be negative or you don't like it, or basically. And again, this a lot of this is be your emotional response to things. Your anxiety might spike up and you might start to fear what you put out because you can't predict what's going to happen next. And that's a lot of human beings problems, is that you can't predict what's going to happen next. That's when you start to curl up into a ball and want to hide and avoid things. But the whole fact of the matter is, when you get engaged in experience, you have to go through it in order to get the most information from it. You have to face it. And again, I'm saying information, but that information, remember, emotional responses you feel about certain things also is information. So a lot of times people be afraid of their own feelings, and being that they're trying to avoid their feelings and not wanting to feel bad and to feel sad, they convince themselves that they're not that. They convince themselves in some kind of other space. And the thing about it is, you gotta learn how to feel your feelings and not be afraid of them. Whether you feel anxiety, whether you feel fear, or you're scared of, that's not a signal for you to run away. The more you're able to fears and things like that, the better you actually become acclimated with your path and what you actually supposed to do. Because one thing you got to keep in mind, even if we are talking about astrology, because a lot of what I'm saying applies to real life and not just astrology. Astrology is just a tool that we use to compare and contrast energies and give us a kind of like a cheat sheet to how certain influences and animalistic natures might affect us. But this is shit. When you're going through different things, you have to know how to manage your own emotional state. And going through these different emotional phases and things, the better you can face these things is the better you become acclimated and stronger mentally to be able to handle. And when you get that strength, helping you define what's going on in your subconscious mind, as you develop more subconscious awareness, now you can convert that into conscious awareness and make better decisions in your life. What up, Fly? Shout out to you. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody who's sliding through. I see y'all in here. Go ahead and slap and share this with somebody you think this could be helpful for, whether they're into astrology or just, this is just, like I said before, this is about life. This is not just about astrology. This is talking about real life and how we can apply different things to help us manage our emotional state of conscious awareness and make better decisions externally. You know what I'm saying? Because we all be going things that are similar, but we in a time right now where everybody feels extremely isolated, and a lot of that could be because of the internet. What up, Arda? Peace on to you. I'm saying a lot of that could be because of the internet and the way in which things are conditioned, and how everybody is kind of being encouraged to develop their own bubble and be in that bubble and judge others from that bubble, and kind of judge themselves through that reflection. You know what I'm saying? We got to get past that by being able to kind of apply what we know into life, and not forget what life is about in general. We're on this planet together, sharing space to be able to connect and to grow with each other, right? And we grow going through different experiences, share what we know to a next person, and through energy and that synergy, we grow and we expand, and then that becomes a bigger space that we can manage and utilize to, what I'm saying, continue to go forward and things like that. Getting back into where the moon is at. So the moon passing through Chiron, again, we're reacting and responding to those mistakes that we might have made and things like that. And we might be, a little bit harsh and critical on ourselves. But part of this energy is about transmutation, going through a Scorpio season. So transmuting some of those more harshness that make you feel alone. Yeah, you might feel alone, but that's not an excuse or a reason to stop going in the direction you're going. Being alone is actually very getting where you need to go, because the more energy, see, you got to realize it's unhealthy attachments that really be the worst thing for you. You know what I'm saying? Being alone is much better than being in an unhealthy attachment, or in some kind of situation in which you're giving energy away to something that's not pouring back into you. And that's kind of what the energy of Aries presents, and how even the opposition with Libra kind of plays out that balance aspect, because Libra energy is all about relating and creating that bridge, but Aries is on the other end of that bridge. You still have a responsibility to keep up where your sanctuary is, your inner peace, or yourself, you're right, your own self-esteem and things like that. And speaking of self-esteem, that's going to be a big theme when we're moving into the moon Taurus. You remember we got a full moon in Taurus coming up, so that's going to be in the next couple of days. Leave on Friday night, something like that, or early Saturday morning. We're going to have that full moon in Taurus, which is going to be, are you satisfied with your own self-esteem and self? You know what I'm saying? Are you really valuing yourself? And part of valuing yourself is going to be you taking a dive, looking into the different things you're attached to, right? And it's going to require you to kind of assess a lot of these emotional biases that you might have, right? And the emotions come from that Scorpio energy, being fixated on how you feel. And in that bubble, based upon what you're going and reacting to, you might be having a hard time, defining, your own, like, basically it's about it like this, right? If you value yourself, why do you keep attaching to the same emotional responses that kind of make you feel like shit? You know what I'm saying? If you really value yourself, at some point you have to transmute those energies that keep you stuck and stagnant, and that's going to be more productive and motivating, right? And one thing about Scorpio, it's all about deviation. So right now we have the potential to be deeply motivated to change some things up internally. And when we change internally, we change what's going on externally around us, like that. So don't lose sight of that. Like, whatever you're going through at the moment, it's I don't like to say it's a test, because that personifies what we consider God and the universe and stuff like that. And God is no person. The universe is not a person. Hold personal relations in the sense of, oh, God is testing me. No, it's you created your own circumstances for you to go through. You know what I'm saying? You are testing yourself to try to learn and adapt and add on new ways to maneuver and things like that. That's what your whole life experience is. You creating problems for yourself and kind of putting yourself to the test to get out of those problems. All the universe is doing is facilitating the experience. It's taking you through different based upon what the energies is and how they're affecting you. But the universe and God is not doing anything to you. You did that to yourself. Everything you're going through is something you put on yourself. And that's why when you make it out of a hard time, a hard situation, you should acknowledge how powerful you are. And it should be a reminder to give you more self-esteem and encouragement to say, damn, I really am a piece of all possibilities. I really can do what I put my mind to. And a lot of times people forget that, when you're going, things just don't seem like they're going your way. It's easy to get caught up in that loop and be like, damn, where am I actually going in life? And an energy like this with the moon in Aries and sun in Scorpio is a good time to kind of get reconnected with that. Stop being so heavily affected, everything you're relating to and things that are connecting to you. Because based upon that Scorpio energy, right, like I said before, a fixed feeling. You have a fixed feeling based upon everything too. And based upon your inability to kind of recognize that, you're looking at certain things you're not. Hey, shout out to Free in the chat, you know what I'm saying? So according to things like that, shout out to Free. I'm gonna make sure, you know what I'm saying, y'all recognize that's Free in the building. You know what I'm saying? Don't get it messed up. So when you're looking at this energy in particular, right, you're looking at your fixed emotions and what you're biased on, that Aries energy, see about that. So that's kind of where, and see the thing about these two energies, it's an in conjunction. So it creates a misunderstanding. So you might misunderstand where to direct that anger towards, or what to direct that aggression towards, you know what I'm saying? In that space, that's kind of where you might mess up. Right, and then you might look at these past mistakes and think, what the fuck? Hey, yo, Free, go ahead and get that weirdo out the chat. But, when we're talking about things that's misunderstood, we're looking at, where to direct our passion and where to direct our focus when it comes to that type of energy, that aggression and things like that, then, hold on, I'll just do it myself. Okay, she got it. But when we looking at where to direct that energy, right? Again, misunderstanding. So when you're looking at your mistakes and things like that, and you're looking at certain things, the decisions you made, and it makes you question yourself, we have to use this Aries energy to redirect and snap back to what our original focus was. Get back to self. You know what I'm saying? Get back to self. Start to remind yourself more so about why you started what you started in the first place. And that genuine energy is going to give you on how you need to stir things up. I appreciate you, Free. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Matt? You said Brazil. Okay. Brazil in the building. Shout out to y'all. I'm trying to visit Brazil for real. But we have to remember that Aries energy, we have to be a warrior for our own self and our own we have to fight for what it is that fight for the reminder of why you started what you started, right? And another powerful energy with this combination, the moon is the north node. So the north node, again, is our spiritual path. So there's a very good chance standing right at the crux of your spiritual path and kind of looking at that, like I was saying in the beginning, that it seems like, damn, I got this big ass vision. How the fuck am I going to achieve that? And the thing is, you don't have to know how, but you do know. And when I don't have to know how, I mean, you don't have to know right now in the position you in. It's like, think about you trying to climb a mountain, right? It's not until you start climbing that mountain you're actually aware of what it takes to climb that mountain, if that makes sense. Like, you can predict and prepare all you want to climb and scale that mountain, but not until you get up until you start climbing that you start to see, oh damn, I didn't know what kind of animals, I didn't know that certain things was going to respond to me, or I didn't know that my body, I didn't know was going to be formed this way to have to put my hand on this ledge and lift me up with this arm. It's like you can't, it's impossible to know exactly every along the way, but it's like you can't know until you start taking them steps. Apply that to life and how you're moving. It's like when you got some kind of vision or goal, you have to make that step first. But the thing about it is how it relates to what I was on earlier about your subconscious awareness and going within yourself and being clear who you are. The better you're doing that, the more equipped you are to handle when different things pop up throughout that experience. You can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow. We can't plan every little thing that we experienced yet, but what we can do is know enough about ourselves to be able to be prepared to make better decisions when those times arise. And that's kind of what that work is all about. The better you're understanding what's going on subconsciously, when different things pop up, it might throw a wrench in your plans. When different things pop up that you couldn't have predicted, it was impossible to predict how that would happen. But at least know enough about yourself and you subconsciously aware to know how to respond rather than just to things. Because when we're in reaction mode, that's when we get into panic mode and we're frantic and we're looking all over the place to be like, yo, what do I do? The whole thing is, it's not until you regulate your own internal systems that you're able to actually get a space to be like, oh, I'm balanced enough to make a proper decision as I'm faced with new experiences and new things that might not have been what I did. Because it's like, honestly, to try to predict everything in life, you're gonna stress yourself out. Like, have you ever like when I was in middle school and stuff like that, I would be in the mirror trying to recite how the station would go when I get to school. And I quickly learned that when you do that, you have a harder time even engaging in the conversation because a person not gonna respond how you moving. You know what I'm saying? A person not gonna respond how you predict because all you can do is project your own mind and bounce back and you're just with yourself. You know what I'm saying? So when you actually engage in that experience, you realize, oh damn, I can't predict what somebody gonna say. Shout out to Free. She said, how you think tools was made. People trying to become aware of new possibilities about what's needed. Right, exactly. That's it, the invention, like to be an inventor and to come up with these new things. It's like it really took them going through that experience to be like, oh shit, now that let me build on that. And that's kind of like even you as an individual. That's why knowing yourself, becoming one of a kind, this is how you actually create your spiral. This is how you create your identity or your placement or play your role, play your position in life. Because if it wasn't for you as an individual going through a certain experiences based upon who you are and your awareness to add on universe and things like that, that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. It's like, a lot of people, especially now, if you're struggling to find your purpose, again, purpose is something you create through the process I just explained and how you think tools was made. People trying to become aware of possibilities about what's needed, right? So to know what's needed from your perspective as an individual, when you're going through life and you're faced with those challenges that make you say, damn, I just want to give up, or I wish this was easy, or I wish somebody else had answer for me. The reason nobody got the answer is because you're supposed to provide the answer. God looking at you like, yo, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And that's what all as an individual have to do. And again, it becomes difficult. You have those moments where you face yourself and you're like, damn, what do I do? And it's like, it's not until you calm yourself down and get out of your own head for a second, observe your space, that you can start to put together to say, okay, first of all, what do I need to kind of balance my energy out and remain focused and get back in alignment. Because that's the thing. A lot of people make movements and they're not aligned with themselves. So those movements become bad decisions later on. And like I said before, it doesn't matter if the experience you go through is bad or good, but you can make better decisions based upon being more subconsciously aware. Because when you subconsciously aware, know what you're putting out now. And like I said in the very beginning of the live, we create our own problems. So why not create problems that's more so in your favor? And to do that, it requires you to know what direction you want to go in. And see, again, you might know all the ins and outs of that experience, but at least if you moving in a way where you have that awareness of yourself and where you trying to go, as you go through, as you create your own problems in that direction of where you trying to go, you come up with the solution. You know what I'm saying? One way or another. It's just how it works. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of one of the gifts if we're talking about the different modalities in astrology, right? Cardinal signs are all about innovation, sparking something new, right? Mutable signs know how to adapt and change. Fixated signs know how to stay solid and go through something until they get it right. So all fixed kind of carry that kind of wisdom to know, hey, if I just stay focused on this one thing, yeah, it might not work today, it might not work tomorrow or next month, but if I stay consistent enough, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out one way or another. And that's kind of one of the principles we got to apply right now through this season. So, when we're going through different seasons, different energies and patterns to tap into in order to get things moving, right? Right now, being that we're in a fixed sign, Scorpio, that's kind of the name of the game right now. We have to know how to be fixated, but Scorpio is kind of tricky because it's a matter of what to fixate on versus what to let go, release, and transmute. And what that process is, it's like looking at your emotional biases because different emotions you might have a grudge with, different things like I said before, unhealthy attachments be a lot worse than it's one of the reasons why you held back. It's the things you attach to that you don't know how to release and transmute from. Those things are the things that's actually creating a virus within you that's making it hard to even move where you need to move. You can't move if you got so much baggage on you. So right now, everybody got to assess where their emotional baggage is and learn how to kind of release that. And the best way to release that is through acts of valuing yourself better. You know what I'm saying? Looking at you saying, okay, well, if I care about myself, if I value myself, I wouldn't keep myself through this emotional loop. And look at the source of that emotional loop. A lot of times those emotional loops come from different things that you're choosing to do instead of want to do, whether that's scrolling all day, whether, you know what I'm saying, you want to change your life and make better, whether it's working out or just making more money and stuff like that. Like it could be surface level things like that, but the whole root of it is, what are you doing with your emotional state? Are you choosing to get up and go against what your impulses are? Are you choosing to kind of go against what feels like natural and what your body might be? If you always responding to your body and kind of, again, in the more natures and more so in panic mode and kind of doing things just because you got the urge to do it versus what you really want to do, that's going to require a little more discipline, right, in order to get there. Why not apply that discipline for the long-term gratification rather than just settling for the short term? That short term is always going to get you, that short term, is not even giving you the right energy and the right messages that make you feel like something is worth pursuing. So why get caught up in that cycle? Why keep going through those little motions and not putting yourself in a position to actually get more? And that's what the full moon is going to present to you, because all of this whole moon cycle from the new moon up until now has been a process of us pushing ourselves to transform these things that we know we damn tired of. We tired of going through the same emotions in that regard. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like a question to you on yourself. How long is it going to take for you to change your life? How long is it going to take for you to take power control over your own situation and stop blaming everything externally, right? At everything outside of yourself and saying, damn, why is it like this? Why can't I get this? Why can't I that happen? And the thing is, you can, but first thing you got to do is probably release a lot of the things that's keeping you caught up in that space. Now, let's keep it moving. It's up in here. So when we talk about let's keep it moving into the moon, right? So the moon is also going to be trining Mars. So Mars right now is in the spotlight. Mars, our passions and things like that needs to be reawakened, and we need to be expressing these things, put on the center stage of our own life, right? So it doesn't have to be you showboating, over expressing yourself to everybody, right? But it does have to be you making your your passions a priority on some level, putting them on the spotlight, so that you're passionately invested in. Give these things attention, because these things are going to see, especially if you're actually trying to make a creative like say you got creativity, right, and you do a creative and you want to make it a business or something like that. This is one of the most times that you need to actually present that. You need to put it to the test. You need to make sure you're exercising that passion in the sense of expressing it to those around you. You're creating because think about what setting the stage is, right? When we talk about Leo energy, it's giving something attention, giving it recognition, giving it praise, right? When you look at like shows or Emmys or something like that, when they're presenting, you know what I'm saying, it's a person on stage and they're like, all right, next up, we got the, you know, saying this individual has been making music since they was X, Y, and Z years old, and they've been doing this and they've been doing that. Everybody hands together for, you know what I'm saying? And then they present who's coming out. So you got to think about your passions like that to set the stage for your passion, the things you're invested in, you know what I'm saying, and you want to actually shine. You have to make it so you have to pay enough attention to what you're passionate about in order to kind of create the environment. And then you have to engage with the audience, audience ready. So, you know, that's an analogy for anything you're doing passionately, right? In your own space, in your own time. Give it enough attention, right? Add enough things to it to make it feel special. So say you're making whether it's making music or painting, right? Start to add energy to get excited about it, right? Add enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is one of the most, it's a very powerful energy that you can add to things, right? To be enthusiastic. A lot of times we go through so many things in life, and especially if you have certain energies, right? Because if you're more air side or you're more on the earth side, you might not even understand the importance of enthusiasm, right? To be enthusiastic about something, because enthusiasm is like it's really more so of a fiery energy. It's to gather a certain, you know, excitement to get engaged with something, right? When you're going through life, and let's say, because we all live in times when we're going through life and it's very mundane, but if you get too wrapped up into mundane and just going through the motions, you forget that, you know, that's the reason. It's like the more you're in that mundane space, the more you're going to produce mundane experiences. Gather up some enthusiasm and you go with certain shit. It's like add a little bit more spice to things. You add a more flair and energy to shit. And when you do that, it's like you're engaging with things in a different way. It's like a witchcraft or a magic, right? So you have to get enthusiastic a little bit about your passions right now. You know what I'm saying? You got to gather yourself up. And even if it's something that's not taken off yet, you got to be excited about it to get others to be. Because if you're not even excited about it, why should anybody else give it attention? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what we got to be aware of when it comes to our passions. And the moon being in Aries, it's going to put you in a space where you as an individual might have to be the one who do that. You might have to spark the enthusiasm to what you care about. You might have to be the only one in that space who's as excited about what you're passionate about than anybody else. You say, I've been feeling this energy especially hard these last 2 days. Shout out to Sunshine. Yeah, you know, it's really in. The thing about it is, it's like we in times right now where it kind of just, it's almost like the life is being sucked out of everything. You know what I'm saying? Because we see the world change, how the world is, and it's like we all have to be our own fire starters in this right now. Like it's a lot of shit just dying, you know, and that's kind of what the fall represents. A lot of shit dying out, a lot of shit just not getting you excited anymore. We don't have what we had during the summertime as far as energy to thrive on, where everybody outside and everybody, you know what I'm saying, it's like that summertime energy. Right now it's about, you know, you kind of finding that fire within you and being able to kind of derive that, and from that you can spread it to others. And that's what we actually consider Sagittarius energy. You know, right now that's kind of what's going on. We have to transmute a lot of the things that's keeping us down and baggage wise. We have to transmute that into something inspiring and what we can consider Phoenix type energy, where we can shine in that way, in a mutable type way, where our light is able to disperse and leave sparks for others. But right now it's like a very, you know, specifically right now, this energy is an individual type space where, you know, you might feel like you're the only one excited about what you're excited about. And that very much could be true. But don't let that stop you or discourage you. You know what I'm saying? It's like you still got to derive that energy, work for what you need to work for. You know, you have to make that work in the way that is best for you. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like it's a gift right now. You know, the Aries energy is a trine to the Mars energy. So it's a gift right now because, you know, during other transits, it might have been harder to access that inner passion to be like, wait, hold, no, I know I'm the shit. I know this is gonna pop. I know this is gonna be the shit right now. I gotta, you know, say it's that spark. So we have to kind of find our own spark or create our own in that. And that could be a guiding light to help you give more energy to your passion now. Because one thing you got to remember about transits, and I even had this theory about, you know, birthdays and things like that. You know, he said that's helpful doing work with no one can feel slowed. Right, exactly. You know, it's some real shit. Shout out to it. Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to so that's some real shit. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times it takes like we be wanting encouragement. You know what I'm saying? Like encouragement is a natural thing to want. And it kind of get wrapped up into validation. It's like it's weird because I think it's a natural human thing to want validation for what you've been investing your energy into. It's a natural thing, but it can't be a driving force to why you do something. And we now where it's like everybody, oh, okay, that's what's up, that's what's up. So good to see you again too, bro. You know what I'm saying? What's up? So, you know, that's one of the things though. It's like a natural thing to want validation, investing your energy into, especially when you start to be connected with other individuals and you want them to see working on too. And cause one thing about humans, right, and understanding we're humans in bodies, right? We're spirits in bodies, having a human experience. The thing about it is humans feed off each other. You know what I'm saying? We all you said it's a little choppy. Oh, okay. Appreciate the heads up. Hopefully it levels out. Let me see what my Wi-Fi is. But one thing about it is we feed off each other. You know what I'm saying? Humans feed off each other. That's what the energy exchange is all about. And I think people forget that sometimes. As spirits, yeah, you have to have your own driving force for things to go for it. But it's the people you connect to that make things a lot. It's like it adds to it. That's why community is so important and things like that. When I say community, I mean having people around you who are, you know, like-minded into the similar things that you're into enough to be able to notice and recognize when you're doing something in your own individual way. Like that Aquarius energy. One thing about the Aquarius energy is like real community knows how to clap for those who's doing their own thing. And it's about, you know, it's not so much about being so into your individual bubble. During this time period, it's a lot of the reverse happening, the inverted aspect of Aquarius, where everybody is so fixated or into their own mind, into their own algorithm, locked into their own, you know, own world, that they're not, nobody's really building genuine, you know, connections and stuff like that. And part of the being able to build genuine connections is like genuine, to be genuinely interested into another person's activity and individuality. Like not because you trying to get something or gain something, but because you fuck with what they doing. You know what I'm saying? You into, it's like community in and of itself is a lost art. And a lot of that comes from even how to the government and things like that created divide and conquer witchcraft to make everybody kind of second guess their neighbor and stuff like that. And then a lot of trust issues just have trust issues are more so an interpersonal development based upon people, you know, backstabbing other people and things like that. But these things have been going on for so long that at this point, just it's like it just makes it harder. You know, it's things that I be noticing that I'm like, damn, that's it's interesting how, you know, becomes such a big thing where it's almost like to live in a healthy type way, you gotta have, you know, people would tell you like, oh, you know, learn how to validate yourself, and you gotta, and these things are important, but it gets us away from the fact that though it's part of it's part of the human experience to be next to other individuals and relate to them and to be feed each other's energy. You know what I'm saying? Like to live a life in which you got to be your own starter and you got to be your own source of all energy. Like I get the sentiment because as spirits, we have that responsibility. We do on some level have to have our own light, be our own individual, but you know, it's almost like a demonization or a negative connotation that we have with things that are natural human things to do, which is to feed off each other and build and things like that. You know what I'm saying? He said the deeper, the more connection is necessary. Right, exactly. Because you got to really think, like, to do some of these things, it requires people. It requires connection. And the only way to get to connection is to start to create that bridge through relations and things like that. And yeah, that's real. Because without that, that's like a lack of having energy and influence to even impact the world. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't got a group of people behind you supporting what you're doing, you're not even gonna have enough energy or influence to make a change, no matter how much you try to be the change. But you have to be the change in order to get people aware of where you stand and things. And when people agree with where you stand, that's when y'all start coming together and be like, you know what, I like this person. I want to support this person. And that becomes the groundwork of community. That's kind of where we at right now, where a lot of us online is like, damn, okay, I fuck with you, I fuck with you, I support you. And that's a lot of what I'm even trying to do with a lot of these programs and stuff like that, whether it's each one or even the conferences and stuff, is to create more time, you know, more spaces where we can get more familiar with each other and build rapport in different ways. So it makes more sense to be connected and deepen that connection and deepen those relationships. And that will become what we start to, you know, convert and bridge into real life. We're actually got physical locations where we can link up, you know, spaces in which we can all convene. And from that, businesses can be built in that space. We start to build businesses there, that becomes the economy flow. And when the economy is flowing, now we can start to operate infrastructure. And as we build infrastructure, that's going to support more of that community and make it even a space where families can be developed. Having better families within that, again, that's just better, healthier relationships that to things to make them grow and expand. And again, that's affecting the youth too, because part of having a healthy community is knowing how to support the youth. So going to adults that actually bring value to the community and build it up more. You know what I'm saying? Like this is some shit that at the end of it all, right? We probably not gonna see the effects of what we do in our lifetime, but it ain't really about that. That's why it's like it's about the youth and shit like that and building them up. But that's kind of a tangent, but relevant. But you know, getting back to the astrology and shit like that, that's what the moon is able to do, signaling. You said when Cancer meets Libra, exactly. Like we can relate all day, but how connected are we? You know, like a community ain't really shit if there's no care involved. If you don't kill neighbor and see care, of course, we know with discernment, not to go to moderation with everything, but you know, like you know, that's an important part. You know what I'm saying? Nobody care about their neighbors nowadays. Nobody give a fuck what's going on across the street, and we barely can care about the people that we even relating to. You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of that is coming from external pressure and just going through life. That's what the world that they done created. And when I say they, I mean, you know, the government, shadow government, you know, it's divide and conquer, because the more they can divide us, the less we have to even give as far as care energy to the next person, because we're so concerned with trying to get our bread up, trying to do this and making sure that nobody else backstabbing us. And you know what I'm saying? And so it's so many different mental loops that they done created for people to go through that makes it further away, harder and harder to connect. It's just it is how it is. But that again, it stops with us on this side of the internet. For what I make and what the people around me are creating and stuff like that, that's where that shit stops, and where we're creating new ways to do this, new ways to connect. Now, like I was saying, the moon, that's how it's affected Mars. That's a little gift that we can utilize with Mars. Let me go ahead and tap in. Let me see what else we got working with. But the moon, Mars is very important and key here because, uh, you know, Mars is going to go retrograde eventually at the end of November. So when Mars goes retrograde, we want to make sure that everything that we did in this time create the confidence. You can't create confidence without showing yourself. That Leo rules that. The sun, if the sun not shining, it's going to start to deteriorate, because again, Leo energy is kind of one of the best representations of kind of what I was saying about human nature and how it feeds off each other. You know, if you ever had a Leo friend, and I know this as a Leo moon, if a Leo moon is sharing something with you and you not as excited about what they sharing, that crushes them on a land. That's like, you know what I'm saying? And again, that's more of a personal thing, but at the same time, it's like there's a feeding of energy that kind of pushes and pulls. And that's even the representation of it being opposite Aquarius, because Aquarius sometimes can have that position of being more so, you know, blank faced or being so air and not really understanding that. But Aquarius get excited too, just about different things. But it goes beyond just the zodiac signs and stuff like that. It's a basic human thing when you're expressing yourself, right? Expression. It's kind of like how fire reacts to fire. A lot of times, depending on what you add to it, it grows the fire. Having too much of like other energies, it can put the fire out. And we all have like an inner fire that when we express ourselves, like think about you as a kid or just children in general. When a kid is excited about something, you want to give that kid more of that excitement, or you want to help them. You want to keep it with them. But the worst thing you could kind of do to a kid is put out their fire. You know what I'm saying? And that be that inner light that we all have. But as adults, the more shit we go through and stuff like that, we lose connection with that. We lose, and then we become the reason why other people around us can't. Every time they show their fire, they be the first person to put it out. And this is kind of a certain type of world that has been created just based upon how they talk about you know people losing connection with their dreams and stuff like that. And you wonder why, and why everybody kind of just living a mundane life, and why nobody enthusiastic about shit is because after a while of going through hard times, different things, being an adult stuff, you start to lose that internal fire. And that's kind of a lot of that is just created by the circumstances that people got to go through just to make a living and stuff, and how heavy it weighs on you. Because when you got all that heavy weight on you, it's hard to about anything. You know what I'm saying? And again, people let you down and stuff like that. You just grow to be more of a person who wants to kind of protect themselves by not getting involved in things, not having enthusiasm for stuff. It's like it kind of just weighs down on you. Now, the moon also sextiles Jupiter now. Jupiter is in retrograde. So, how we feel about our experiences, we're kind of looking into past experiences because being that Jupiter is retrograde, and information we might have missed. A lot of time, a lot of what I'm seeing too is like people are kind of exposing or revealing where they took some bad advice, and they kind of seeing how information they thought was the right way to go really ain't amounting to nothing right now. This could be a reassessment of experiences and maybe how you've been participating, information that you learned about, and maybe coming up with a new way to do it or a new way to see it. Or it could have been some really good advice that you missed based upon you being involved in your own, and now you're kind of seeing a different side of that, and it's an opportunity to be able to, based upon your new feeling or new sense of self, new identity, you're able to take information that you might have missed and apply it differently, or in the same information, but you just, now that you see it differently, you can add on to it or apply it to your life in some kind of way. Or you could get rid of it, separate yourself from it, depending on, whether it's helpful or not. The moon is also going to be, the moon is square in Venus. So Venus just got into Capricorn. So when it comes to love, how we appreciate things, even how we lend support and how we want to receive support, it's all practical. So all things dealing with how we show love and how we receive it, and to be done on a practical level. Things might dry out a little bit, but it's all about, you got to understand what Capricorn is for. Capricorn is for creating a system. So it's being more mindful of the system exchange, whether it's so when you're looking at different things and different relationships you got going on, you're looking at the system of exchange. What I'm saying, what are you getting in return, and understanding kind of like, okay, is this system actually working for us, or is this system need to be modified? Do we need to create a new blueprint? So a lot of things. So it's, let's say you in somewhat of a help, or you got some, and when I say relationship, that goes beyond just you in romantic sense. This could be you and business partners, or people you support online, or people that you relate to, that you work with, and things like that. It's looking at the system and maybe kind of getting back to the basics of things and saying, okay, well, are we feeding to each other in a way that's productive? Can I be productive around you? Can you be productive around me? Wanting to support things that are producing, this love producing, and by producing, depending on what you want, which needs to be clarified. Both individuals need to be clear on what they want, so that we can make sure that the system of exchange is meant to be, because that's kind of one of the basic building blocks. A lot of times in relationships, you assume that the other person wants the same thing you want, That's just a natural human thing because we all in our own world. But it's not until you start to verbalize what it is you want and you person is verbalizing what they want that we can start to get a better understanding of how to meet each other's needs. And we can create a system behind that, which is the fact, like when you look at Saturn, Saturn is exalted in Libra in the seventh house for a reason, because it comes down to exchange. And it really doesn't matter what they tell you is a good relationship or not. That shit doesn't matter. What matters is the foundation of exchange. You know what I'm saying? What's the system we have in place? You know, I want this. These are my love languages. You want that. These are your love languages. Okay, let's create a system of exchange so that we can both get what we want. And now all of a sudden, because when we get what we want in love relationships, right? It doesn't have to be romantic. When we get what we want in relationships, this helps both of us. Because think about the foundation or what the essence of the seventh house is. It's about exchange. It's about balance. So if no matter what you want and no matter what I want, if these needs can't be met, wants can't be met, because Venus is more so wants. If these wants can't be met, then you're going to end up feeling unbalanced. Because now as an individual, the reason you even want to get into a relationship on some level is because you want to exchange energy with somebody who has a piece of something that you don't quite have all the way. No matter how you chalk it up, that's like the seventh house essence. It's like the why we all relate. And even like I was saying about it being a human thing to want to relate and feed off of each other is because you as a one of a kind individual only have you. But without relationships, you'll miss out on different parts. That's why you get in different relationships or you get in different, you meet different people and they add on to your life. They add perspective, they add awareness, things that you don't have in your own individual space. So that's why it's kind of important yourself, right? You got to love yourself and know who you are. But we in this world today, we in the reason why is because people add awarenesses, and through these different awarenesses you become more well-rounded and there's more things you become, and that's kind of a natural thing because you as a piece of all possibilities, you're a piece. This is why in the best kind of relationships you feel like because they're in your life you're aware of a whole different you're adding on. It's like a more adding on, more space, more awareness for you to be able to do more things in life in the world. That's why you as an individual single person can only go so far. But when you get linked up with a relationship, right, whether a one-on-one or and think about the next air sign, a community, because within a community it's just more of that one-on-one energy but now spread across many different individuals for different reasons, and that automatically makes you more powerful based upon that awareness, that expansion. Now as you're connected to more people, you're more aware of parts of yourself that wouldn't have been activated had you not established those relationships and stuff like that with being their own one of a kind self. So it kind of builds onto each other, right? That's kind of one of the essential things. But getting back to just Venus and Capricorn, we want to make sure that whatever we're relating to is productive. So, even having to put restrictions on certain things, like right now, being that it's Venus, think about all the things that you overindulge in that take away from your savings, that take away from your budgeting, that take away from, your attention. You might have to put some more restrictions on things that you like, things that you maybe have developed a habit around, right? And that habit might not be destroying you and so dramatic that it's taken away from, other major things, but exercising some level of restriction or creating some kind of, restriction doesn't have to mean completely getting rid of it, just putting it on a different kind of schedule or regulation, regulating, rationing, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's say you smoke every day, right? If you smoke every single day, then it's like, well, you know what? Let me put me on a different regimen. Let me ration my shit out a little bit differently. Let me smoke every 2 days, smoke, instead of smoking every day at the same time, let me give some time between, I might smoke in the morning and I used to smoke all throughout the day, but let me just smoke in the morning and maybe smoke at night, or let me pick one. It's just a form of practicing some level of restriction and then tie it to something you're trying to be more disciplined about. So, I'm going to smoke in the morning, or I'm going to smoke in the evening after I done did X, Y, and Z in my daily routine. Depending on where you have, what house you have Capricorn in too, that could kind of add to how things in to make it all work with each other, right? And that's why I mess with astrology as a tool, because think about everything that we've been talking about, right? So we've been talking about passions, right? and how important it is to give our past attention and moment to shine. And then now we're talking about Venus, restriction and regulating things that are, that we appreciate and love. And well, if you combine these two energies, you can come up with a very creative way to prepare yourself for the next transition, to get yourself prepared and add on and build on whatever craft or things you're trying to develop that's going to help with you, or fulfilling your purpose in a sense, because it's not really about reaching a point, more so living your life in your purpose. So as you be the best version of yourself, everything you do lends a hand into the development or the experience that is your, because your life is like a set time as you going through a transition, so, or a testimony. So through that testimony, you want to make sure a majority of that time you have alive, you're spending in your purpose, in your bag, or being the best version of you. Or, and when I say the best version of you, I just mean being you. I don't really like saying best version, because whatever version you in now is the best version. You can always improve it, but we have to, it's like a little mind thing. It's like you can't fantasize about the best version, because sometimes that'll create separation from who you are in the present, if that makes sense. It's like if you're always thinking about, oh, I gotta be the best version of me, instead of understanding that you are you. So the best version of you is whoever you are right now. And if that ain't shit, got work to do. Right? You see how that makes it more personal, that ties it back into reality, versus the best version of me, that'll create a bunch of systems and games where you'll start to think that, oh, I could just put on a coat and be the best of me. Or it's like it's not really you. You're giving yourself an excuse to continue to not be shit and fantasize about, oh, I'm being the best version of me, and putting on a coat and stuff like that, and going out and be like, yeah, yeah. And then some days you coat off, versus bringing that shit together and saying, no, I am who I am. So if the best version of me is just who I am right now. So if I am not who I got work to do, and that'll bring it more, make it more real, instead of kind of fantasyland idealizing a version of you. Also, it helps with not creating a instance of self-hate, because in our pursuit to be better versions of ourselves, we start to hate ourselves. We start to blame and criticize ourselves in ways that do more harm than good. If every day you trying to change something, and every day you kind of be like, damn man, I keep on fucking up, doing the same thing. Man, I'm stuck in my head. I'm anxious. All that is because you kind of fantasizing some kind of alternate life and reality, when you are just who you are. And then everybody got flaws and shit. So work out on your own pace, and you'll get there. You'll get to a space where, you have to love yourself throughout the process though. Even if it's things that you still do that you don't like, you just have to acknowledge the fact that, hey, I don't like that. And guess what the next logical thing to do is? Stop doing that shit. And if you slip up, that's a conversation you and God need to have. Understand, damn, I still might like this shit. So you have a decision to make at that point. Do you go to war with that part? And see, going to war with it is, think about war, good way, right? Strategizing. So identify what the enemy actually is. What process, what feeling attachment do I have to this thing I keep doing that I know I don't like, or I claim to not like? What about it do I keep doing it for? What do I like about it? And then when you start to unpack that, that's like lending the hand to that shadow work, subconscious awareness that's going to help you identify what the enemy is. And then at that point, you can ask yourself, okay, what's the best mode of operation? How do I attack that? That's good war strategy, right? And right now we in Scorpio season. So this is why it is the season of purification. And the better you're going through the purification process, the better your Sagittarius season has the potential to be, because you'll be able to expand and go a little bit further, or a lot bit further, based upon what you're aware of internally. And you won't feel like a cage, because you won't be locking yourself away from all the things you're running from, or all the ways in which you're lying to yourself. You can actually create the space to expand yourself into a whole new direction, versus running away, escapism. And speaking of escapism, on Friday during the full moon, Saturn goes direct. So that's a very key point, that we all kind of need to acknowledge. And when Saturn goes direct in Pisces, escapism, right? Remember, all I was saying about when Saturn was retrograde was our war with escapism. And how do we get to a space where we stop trying to escape into a reality that we want to be in, versus creating a reality that you in currently, you know what I'm saying? Instead of being delusional and trying to jump into a delusion to escape reality, how do we take what is going on in reality, no matter how shitty it might be, and make that shit something we don't have to escape from. That's what we needed to be doing that whole retrograde. So Saturn going direct, a lot of the struggles that you was having, I don't like to say, because a lot of times people will be online and be like, oh, Saturn goes direct, all restrictions will be lifted, and all of these signs that have Saturn and Pisces will all of a sudden start to have new heights and new opportunities. And so, like, that's all fantasy land talk, because it all comes down to what you've been during these transits. If you've been bullshitting, you're gonna see the same problems become even more restriction now, more head on. You're gonna see all the ways in which your dream can't flourish because of what you didn't take advantage of in your time to be focused on to work out your attachment to escapism. So but if you have been doing the work, this is gonna be Saturn going direct. So one thing about Saturn presents restrictions for you to learn and adapt and develop, right? I like to think of Saturn as a big ass wall, right? But once you climb that wall, it's a stepping stone now that can now lend itself to get into the next thing that's going to look like a wall, but you scale that wall and then on stepping stone. So Saturn presents restrictions to become stepping stones if you do the work, which is scaling that wall. So if you've been doing that work, you're going to start to see all the things that look like blockages become the foundation for you to be able to get to the next level you're trying to develop for yourself in reality. And that's going to lend a helping hand, right? It's going to feel like, okay, all the work I put in is now worth something. Now, if you've been bullshitting with the work, you're going to see all the same restrictions, but it's going to be kind of different now. It's going to be more collisions. It used to be just a wall, but now it's going to feel like walls closing in on you. And now I have to think faster. I have to work. You know what I'm saying? It's different than I'm just scaling the wall and it's just a singular wall that's not moving. When Saturn correct, it's going to start to seem like the walls are moving in. And the walls are moving in can also relate it to in reality as how we starting to see, okay, now we know who president now, right? Now that we know who president, let's start paying what kind of laws and regulations coming, because you know they coming. There's talks about Bitcoin, digital currency, even something going out in Brazil where I think certain spaces in Brazil or certain foreign countries, I forgot what it said in the article, but it was like now a lot of these foreign countries are adopting digital currency, introducing it to their infrastructure and shit like that. So walls closing in is going to start to look like things of reality that's changing. We've been waiting and anticipating this. We know who president is, so we know what they're enforcing as far as policy and what's about the next wave of, you know what I'm saying, restrictions, boundaries, laws, and allowances that we're going to have to work through in order to get what we're trying to get on individual tip. So, you know, like I've been saying about forming communities and together and building new systems, that shit is all closing in. And if you ain't been doing your part of the work, you're not even going to be in a position to use anything as a stepping stone to get to a space, commune and connect in a way that's going to look like productivity. You know, and then like I was saying, even about Venus and you know, Venus and Capricorn sextiles Saturn. So that's going to be an opportunity. So need those productive relations in order to start to build on what now directly impacting us as far as reality goes. And that's what Saturn direct is going to look like. It's like your dreams actually do have a space in which they can be created. You had to have laid that foundation. If you didn't lay that foundation, well, it's going to be very difficult to even convince people to be on your wave or to be connected with you or to be able to see the potential in what you're trying to present them as an option or an idea. Remember, we had Pluto. We got Pluto 0 degrees. No, Pluto is what? Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong one. Pluto about to go Aquarius too very soon. So a lot of what we've been talking about, and I was missing it in the summertime. A lot of what we're talking about, all these planets changing signs. So Pluto going into Aquarius, that's gonna be, it's like it's right here in front of you. If you ain't been laying that foundation and that work, people not even going to be able to respect you because they didn't see you take power and control over your own circumstance. They didn't see you work through all of those different hurdles, and they're not going to have the status to be able to do that community thing, do the associating thing in a way that people actually want to trust and invest with you. It's going to look more like, I don't know. You might have to go through a little more loops in order to prove yourself in that space. Not to say prove yourself like, you know, you got to go around trying to impress people. It's about that. It's more so you're not even going to have the inner knowing to be confident enough to present yourself in a way that's going to influence and impact others. Because it's really about, it's not about what others think of you. It's about really what you think of yourself. So a lot of times when we go through these transits, it looked like, oh, through this transit, I have a better chance of influencing others and impacting others. But it's really you going through these transits to develop your own awareness and confidence to be able to convince you. So you believe what it is you kicking, not so others can, of course, there's energies that help with certain, the ability to influence others, but it's not really how most people think about it. It's more so about, have you convinced yourself? Because if it's like how, like, if you say something, it's like people be like, oh, are you convincing me or it's yourself? A lot of times, if you don't have that inner knowing for yourself and you're trying to present something, it don't matter how much words you're using that's going to sound convincing. You haven't convinced yourself, and that kind of lends itself to the even getting people to in the first place, getting people to see your vision and shit like that. All of that take you knowing it, but at the same time, what I'm saying, it's like that's just how it goes. So, you can't hide behind transits like that either. You can't be like, oh, well, I'm gonna wait this transit and present this so people will agree with me. But you know, you need to be using every single transit to add on to your confidence. That's your experience. That's what you gonna have to work with when it comes to presenting anything to the world. You know what I'm saying? And that's the importance of alone time. And even when we're talking about things like this in Libra, the axis and the energy and what it represents, you need to be developing yourself so that you have the ability to connect to others in a way that, what I'm saying, if you haven't done the work for yourself and created that self-knowing, whatever you present is not going to be authentic enough to relate. And people can't harmonize. It's like, think about if you were trying to sing with somebody, it's a duet. You can't harmonize unless your voice is loud enough to reach the levels. So think about all that self-development as you working on your voice to be able to harmonize in a group with other people and stuff like that. If you don't work on yourself, you're powered by another person's voice. So it's not going to be harmony. It's going to be one person giving a lot more than you. And same thing even on the other end. If you do too much and you too full of yourself, you're going to be trying to dominate all of the song instead of harmonizing, being able to know the strength of your voice and the power and how high you can go, but knowing how to still create that modesty and bring it down, and not even bring it down, but match in a harmonic way. But again, I'm just adding shit like that. But let's see what else. We got the moon. Also, I think that's kind of it though. Oh yeah. So there is fire trine too going on. Mercury is in Sagittarius. I almost forgot about that. So with Mercury in Sagittarius too, how we communicate is kind of, what I'm saying, Mercury is in a place it doesn't necessarily like to be, and it's opposite Jupiter. So again, this is kind of like a lot of what we thought was good advice. We're starting to see, oh, that shit wasn't good advice. Like Mercury and Sagittarius is kind of making you assess and analyze your experiences more so, and kind of reassess your own wisdom and knowing. So a lot of, like I was saying about how Mars is trying to present itself on that stage, trining the moon, right? Also Chiron in the North Node. And then we have Mercury trying to assess and it's almost like Mercury sitting on that trine is trying to come up with the meaning and reasoning of why you went through all you went through to still make it make sense to continue to pursue your spiritual path. And that's applying things that came from your mistakes and also seeing where your passions have a place and add direction to where you're trying to go. So, this trine right here, when you add Mercury to it, Mercury is trying to really do what's the reason and what's the meaning behind the mistakes I went through and the challenges I'm facing while trying to present my passions and things like that. So again, this is a time right now where you really want to focus in and rekindle your own fire. Everything that you've been going through might have been doing a lot of damage, or it felt like damage, right? It was presenting you, and this is kind of what I was explaining when it comes to a year 8. Year 8 is this loop system, right? Infinity, and we're all learning how to break our own loops. So a lot of we went through this year was a solo thing. It was an internal face with yourself thing. And then we're trying to break those loops and cycles so that we can continue on with the progression. And that's becoming what year 9 is about. All of the year leading up until now was about putting ourselves in a position, but that position was internal. Like I was saying before just now, it's like working to convince of what it is that you're trying to break into. You know, whatever it is that you're trying to stay and claim and expand into, you had to convince yourself. And convincing yourself was through every transit, through every moment, every expression, you working out certain you to be like, yes, I'm gonna continue to do it, even if I'm faced with all the odds that's making it seem like what I'm trying to reach for is unattainable or some kind of feat that I can't reach or something like that. So, you know, right now we at the tail end, about to be in the year 9. We in November, so we got one more month, and of course we know the real New Year starts in March. So we really got a lot more time. Not a lot, but we got what? Because it would be 4 more months, right? Another quarter. So we got a whole nother quarter, which is the death of what we kind of convinced of, like this journey now. After we go through Sagittarius, we go into that, right? The initiating of a new plan of action and making new sense of things, a new blueprint. And then we got Aquarius, which is going to be now starting to kind of pick up the pieces and reconnecting and trying to make logical connect, express ourselves and put ourselves out there. And this is going to be what we start to build on. And then we got Pisces, of course, the complete enmeshment of the dream, or the complete, whether it's enmeshment, you connecting to the dream fully, disillusionment, aka you realize everything that you've been doing up until this point, I'm not gonna say meant nothing, but you're gonna say what it means. You're gonna start to feel like, damn, I was in an illusion this whole time, and I'm starting to see. So 2025 is gonna be real interesting too, because not only is it gonna be a year 9, this is where we're gonna see a lot of, like I was saying before, with the new president, new policies in full effect, and things that was cool to get money with now, not gonna be option coming next year, and even in the next year, we got a 4-year span that's going to kind of determine, what the new playing field is. So, and a lot of that, we gotta, make a new live stream. That's going to be things that we start to talk about moving forward into 2025 and stuff. But it's going to be a year 9. So year 9s are defined by death and expansion, the release of things that are no longer suitable, and the expansion into new things. So also knowledge and wisdom and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of needing to apply and in some level matching energy with those who know either just as much as you or more. So it's going to be kind of a thing where you want to put yourself in the best possible space to be able to continue and contribute, or to continue to contribute to those around you with something to offer. So that's going to look like communities that you're involved in and things like that. Shout out to Radical. You said happy Mercury Day. Let's get it. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. And just that Mercury. Speaking of Mercury, that Mercury is Sag energy right now needs to be a learning day. You know what I'm saying? Try to learn what you can about what you're trying to pursue, and seeing, especially related to your passions and what you're trying to define and make a stage for, make a name for yourself in. And when I say making a name for yourself, it's like just something to embody in this lifetime, part of your purpose and things like that. But yeah, that's about it for the most part. The last thing I do want to talk about is Lilith in Scorpio. So right now, when it comes to Lilith, we know that's our kind of deep fears and things. It's kind of giving a highlight to things that we might be tempted to run away from. So as to what we're tempted to run away from is things regarding our deep passions and maybe even our shadows, and things that we haven't been addressing on a subconscious level that we kind of just don't want to detach from, or we kind of don't want to transform from. So we have to come to grips with things that's hard to digest emotionally, whether that be our relationship with trust, being able to trust others, our power and control things that we can't control. We trying to control how something feels. You can't control how things feel. We receive feelings. Can't control how it feels. So if it don't feel good, you have to understand that, well, the only way to change how I feel about it, because feelings change and feelings fade. The only way to change how you feel about something, to take power and control over it, is to know how to release it. So you might, it's like certain inner workings and things like that that might be affecting us on an emotional level. You might have to come to grips with the fact that, hey, whatever, and things like that you can't control, but you can control how you respond to it. So, you might have to assess certain things that's going on beneath the surface with you, do a little, and that's why I named this AstroTherapy, because a lot of what we need to identify and kind of work through that nobody can really help us with, but you might just be in a space, in an emotional state that is affecting you in some kind of way that's like, hey, look, trying to give you information on what to pay attention to. But instead of getting frustrated with what you feel, and release that so that you can open the door for new feelings to come in. Because a lot of time when you try to control how something feels, you get locked in. That's kind of what Scorpio represents. Controlling, trying to control what you feel, trying to control vulnerability. I don't want to feel vulnerable about this, so I'm gonna try it or stuff it and repress it. And it's like you didn't control nothing. You really just created another problem. You stuff, you know what I'm saying? So that's part of that Scorpio thing. The best, if you do want to control, you know, what the vibe and emotions and stuff like that, if you want to be a better master of your own emotions, you have to learn things go, learn how to, you know what I'm saying, cycle through different emotions and you know, yeah, so on and so forth. But anyway, hope y'all have a great day. I appreciate y'all for sliding through. Like I said before, slap a like. If you're new here, subscribe, and also somebody who this could be beneficial for. I hope all y'all have a great day, and I will see y'all on the next moon transit. Again, the full moon in Taurus coming up. So make sure that you are working to be more satisfied with your self-value, your self-esteem, and which is a foundation. Also, your individuality. Much love, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.